manipulated into a state, or has been manipulated into a state, which is to stop us understanding the world. And so, you know, we look at television and the manipulation of television and newspapers and stuff. But that, when we see a newspaper or we see a television program, we're just seeing the decoded version of a vibrational field. Those newspapers and those television programs and news programs and all the rest of it, they are actually, quote, physical holographic representations of the prime reality, which is a vibrational field. It's at that level that manipulation we call subliminal, that manipulation we call lying to the people and all the rest of it, actually happens. And so basically what they've done is pull a vibrational veil over us. And if you can make it powerful enough and dense enough, you focus people's sense of perception into such a narrow area that they disconnect from an awareness and therefore a deep effect in their perception of consciousness. You're isolating their point of observation into mind, and that's happening on a vibrational level, which then plays out in what we call the physical world. So what's vital, and this is why this information is so important, not just, I'll tell you what I've found. Nothing represents literally and symbolically the prison than the left brain, which deals in apartness, language, hierarchy, structure, and all this stuff. And the information about the five sense conspiracy, I've found, one of its great values is that it operates in a left brain realm when you're explaining how this and that and the other is connected to the same people, and they control that, and this is what they're doing, and these are the techniques they use. That's left brain information. Right. And when people say, oh, you shouldn't put out that information, it's negative, they don't understand that we're looking at a multi-level situation, therefore we have to deal with it on a multi-level basis. That means covering all bases, not just sitting cross-legged on a mountain.
Of course.
Now, what I've found over the years is that once the left brain, because symbolically I see, you know, you've got the left brain, which is what I'm talking about, you've got the right brain, which is a much more out there connection and sees everything in unity, the creativity, and then you've got the bridge, the corpus callosum, which ideally should be sharing information, so you've got a balance, you're in this world and of it, you know. But what the conspiracy does, again, it's all on a vibrational level that it goes in and then it plays out here, is they put symbolically soldiers on the door to the left brain. This is why, to progress within this society, one of the most effective ways is to keep passing exams and getting degrees and all this stuff, because that's an exam is, here's some left brain information, now give it me back on a paper telling me what I've told you to believe. Okay, you've done it very well, you've got a first-class degree, a first-class indoctrination often. Now what this conspiracy information on a five-sense level does, it talks to the left brain in the language the left brain understands. And I've seen it over the time in my personal experience, and of course other people would have seen it. It starts to make the left brain change its sense of reality. And once it starts to change that, it starts to think, well, hold on a second. If everything I thought about the world here was wrong, and it's not like that at all, what the heck else is in this world is not like I thought it was. And I've seen this where people, once that left brain starts this process of withdrawing from a sense of it knows what's going on to I never knew, then it starts to move. And as it starts to move, it literally starts to open to other possibility. And then this movement between the hemispheres can start to happen. And I've seen people who would have laughed in my face about reality and all that stuff, who now encompass it because they went through the process of credible names, dates, places, 5 sense information, explaining logically why the world is not like they thought it was on a 5 sense level. Everything starts to move then. So you know, it's important that the deprogramming of people's manipulated sense of reality happens on multi-levels, not just kind of, you know, we must become spiritual, we must go within, you know. I mean, people say, oh, Alex Jones, he just frightens people and all that. Well, hold on a second. You know, just hold on a second. You know what's negative? It's not information, it's ignorance. That's what's negative, ignorance. And if you want to be ignorant and therefore a manipulator's party trick, then you go ahead. And if you want to look at the information, the 5 sense information that I put out and Alex puts out and people like that and many others, and say it's negative, it's frightening. Well, the fact that you find it frightening instead of empowering because you now understand the game better and therefore you have more power to do something about it, then that is not a statement about those putting the information out. It's a statement about the way you're receiving it.
Exactly. Something that we liked very much was something that George Green said to us in our interview with us April last year. And he used the little analogy. He said, listen, if your car is on the railroad track and there's a train coming down and you don't know that, then, and I don't tell you, then he said, shame on me for not telling you, and shame on you for not knowing. And this is just a nice little way of encapsulating what you're saying.
Yeah, I have an analogy I use very similar to that. I talk about not the hurricane coming, what do you call them? The twisters.
The tornado.
The tornado, yeah. And the tornado's coming, but you have put your head in a bucket of sand because you don't want to face the fact that the tornado's coming. Now, you can hide from that for a while, but you're still there, and the tornado's still coming. And your bum is still in the air, and it's going to get smacked very shortly by a tornado. If you lift your head from the sand, face the situation that you're in, there's a tornado coming, now you have taken power back to yourself by saying, okay, I see the situation now, I can take avoiding action for my benefit.
Of course.
And this is why it's so important. And I hear people you might call New Age who talk about letting go of fear and taking your power back and come to this workshop and we'll show you how to do it. And then they say, oh, you mustn't talk about this conspiracy, it's too negative. And what happened to letting go of fear and all this stuff, you know? And what
these are the guys who hope that the angel Gabriel is going to come and save us. You know?
Yeah, well,
that doesn't work either.
Every level, it seems to me every belief system, every mind construct seems to have a version of the cavalry coming over the horizon. You know, okay, here's the cavalry, okay. Here's the cavalry, here's the cavalry, there's the cavalry. And we need to understand that, you know, because if we give our power away to other people, where do those other people actually, where do they actually stand physically as we give our power away to them? Out there, symbolically. So what we're doing is giving our power away into the illusion and then wondering why nothing ever changes. The whole conspiracy, or the foundation of the conspiracy, is to persuade 6 billion people to give their power away every day. And the power used to control this is the power these people are saying, thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much. Take it back, House of Cards comes down, because that's what it is. It's a House of Cards, and we're holding it together in here. We're constructing the House of Cards in here. Great news, we can bring it down in here.
Right, but I have to say that we're not only going to do that with the mind. That's what's really important here.
No, the mind plays it out. We're going to do it by becoming conscious. That's the point.
Absolutely, but also left brain, right brain. I want to address that a little bit because it's not enough to reconstruct reality based on saying getting to a place where you don't know, and then you're willing to open to a new construction of reality, such that you're going to play the game different, but you're still lodged in the left brain. You must bring in the holistic view, the view that encompasses the heart, that encompasses the female, which is the yin-yang side of things, because what we have here has been playing out for centuries is a really yang view of reality, especially on the Western side of,
kind
of the world. And so what I have to say is, it's more than just reconstructing the left brain in a new way to play the game better, because that's actually cheating yourself on another level. So what you need is, you need to grow and open the door between the left and the right brain such that there is a flow. And that means that you're talking about the heart, you're talking about senses that are beyond the five. And so you have to, what you had to do in your own exploration was, you never would have gotten the information you wanted to get by staying in the left brain. It actually, as you said, you had physical sensations, they locked your feet, they gave you information that came out of nowhere. You couldn't make logical sense of it. It was, logic goes out the window. So left brain's gone. You know, it's, even words are useless when you get into that place. So it's you must actually, it's like traveling in a sense. You must actually travel to a different place. What you do is you follow your intuition.
Right.
You're over on your, I guess they call it the right side of the brain. That's where you are. That's where intuition resides. So you've opened that door. There is a flow, and that's really what has to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, I take my intuition, which has guided me and has led me to information, and also it's like a filter. I have a vibrational sensation when something is not true and something is true, and another one when it's maybe partly true.
That's holistic.
Yeah, but I still, the left brain's still important on bringing those concepts down into a language of communication that people can assimilate, that are stuck in the left brain. Because if you don't talk in logical, from their perspective, logical terms that the left brain can understand, which is under lock and key, then that key will never open. And that's also why what you just said, that you will except on rare occasions when I'm talking in a very small time scale or doing an interview on a specific subject, I will never talk about the five sense conspiracy without the nature of reality and the influence of the influence of consciousness and all the rest of it. Another point you make is about the heart. I agree. The heart is absolutely at the heart of this and is much more powerful than the brain and much more powerful than the mind, because it is connected, I would say, that what connects us through to consciousness. And this conspiracy also, because, you know, it's a simple thing. In the deep shadows, behind the people in dark suits, are a force, whatever you want to call it, that understands how this works. Right. So they've structured a society that is to close down all the channels to consciousness, to isolate us in mind, because then we're playing in their stadium. And one of the key things is to close the heart, to close the heart. And if you want to open the heart and you want to become conscious, it's what I say in my talks, then what we need to do is to ask the question, what would consciousness do at this point? Would consciousness, when we're faced with these set of circumstances, say, well, what's the best outcome for me? No, consciousness will say, what is right, just, fair thing in this situation for me to do? And if we, when we're faced with choices all through the day, ask that question, in this circumstance, what would consciousness do? And act upon it, crucially, then everything changes. And our life changes. Why? Because we are now starting to resonate with consciousness because we're operating in its realm, which is by doing what we say consciousness would do in these circumstances, we are vibrationally locking in to that level and therefore becoming more and more influenced by consciousness. When we say, well, yeah, well, I see that, but I mean, it's not good for me if I do what's right in this situation. I must do what's right for me. That's mind, so that's locking you into mind. You know, this thing about becoming conscious, I see it so often all over the world. I mean, I was in India just before Christmas, and, you know, good luck to them, but they make it sound so complicated. And you know, a lot of the complication, I see this with New Age people that stand on stages and do workshops, not all of them, of course, but I see it with gurus in India and stuff like that. Not all of them, again, but vast numbers of them. The complexity says two things. One, they don't really understand it, because if you really understand something, you can put it in simple language.
I'd agree with
This
that.
is why you get academia repeating jargon, and you say, look, I'm an idiot, mate, okay? I never passed an exam in my life. I left school at 15 to be a professional soccer player. You're going to have to put it in language I can understand. They can't, because they don't really understand it. They're just repeating jargon. And the other side of the complexity of becoming conscious is if you can make it sound complex, then you've taken power over your potential audience.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
It's still a power game.
You have to come through me, and the more I make it sound complex, the more power I have, and therefore the more you must come to me, and the longer you must stay with me. And oh, by the way, put the check in the box as you leave. And yet it is so simple. This is the point I would make. People talk about we must become conscious. It's a line. We are conscious. That is our natural state. What's happened is barriers that we have been manipulated, and we must take responsibility for it too, big time, have put in place, have symbolically created a concrete shell around our natural state. And this concrete shell are all the things that control people: fear and stress and conflict and seeking success and competition and all this stuff. It's not that we have to become conscious. We are conscious. It's like breaking that shell. And that shell is mind domination.
It's like the lie that's in language.
Like
the lie that's in language when people say, my spirit, my soul, and I'm hungry. It's like, wait a minute, this is the wrong way around here. I have a body, and my body is hungry, and my body is tired, and I am a soul, and I am a spirit. But language, which is a product of the mind in the first place, because we don't think we don't talk how we think how we talk, and language is one of the ways in which we're programmed to think.
Massive way, massive.
As George Orwell pointed out in 1984.
Programming the computer. Yeah. But what are words? They're vibrational fields. So again, even the words that program us are actually coming in at a vibrational level, a waveform level, and they're only decoded into language when they pass through the brain construct. So everything gets in, that plays out here, gets in at a vibrational level. That's why we need to get to that level of ourselves and clear ourselves out, because that's where all the patterns are put in. And I use this analogy in my talks that a ball, its natural place in a tank of water is on the top, just floating away. The natural state, free, going like. If you want to put the ball in a natural state in the tank, you've got to put it on the bottom of the tank, and you've got to hold it there. You can't put it there and it'll stay there, because it's not its natural state. Its natural state is floating on the top. Our natural state is being conscious. So what the manipulation has had to do is, and this says something about the true scale of who we are. It has had to bombard us with so many multi-level systems of control, diversion, and manufactured ignorance to symbolically hold the ball on the bottom. And it hasn't succeeded with...
Mounting.
Say again?
They're mounting.
Yeah.
These systems of control. That's what the move towards, a fascist state and a world government is all about. I actually heard an interview with you in which you talked about that fact. The fact that we are, to use your analogy, which is a very good one, we are consciousness, and as that ball, we are moving as a group towards the surface of the water. We're actually getting out of their grasp.
Right.
As that happens, they're intensifying their game to want to keep that ball down. And so that's why the stakes are rising on both sides.
Couldn't agree more.
And what's going to happen is, look at the natural, even the metaphor is perfect. Because what's going to happen ultimately? The water and the ball are going to win. Okay? There's no way that those forces, as much as they intensify, sometime, somewhere, that ball is going to get to the surface, like it or not, the powers that be. Now, what's going to be interesting is if they actually start understanding on a deeper level than power and their power over, because I've got the clue and I've got the key. That's what the Illuminati, you know, that's what they think. They think if you don't get it, then we can hold you down. You deserve to be held down. That's actually their, I'm sure you know this is their rationale. So what happens when we, because we're greater than our body, you know, the consciousness that we are is greater than what they are, because they're on limitation, starts to win in their own mind, you see, and they start to let go. Because this is what's probably happening. There have to be many members that have been under the thumb of this game and have joined and are being, you know, we're being patted on the head and given all the reinforcement necessary to keep them in the game. What happens when they start to see the light, so to speak?
And some of them, I'm sure, already are, because there's nothing more fiercely compartmentalized than this whole control structure itself. There's so many people within the control structure, right down into mainstream society, that are daily contributing to this gathering fascist global state, who have no idea of the true implications of it, or as they go up higher and higher, have been misled about the nature of themselves, reality, and the force behind it.
So the nature of the chaos and the destruction will actually work in the favor of releasing the ball, because what happens is during chaos you can change sides, you see. You can actually, you know, it's really hard to maintain control during a time of destruction.
Yeah, I agree. You know, what I would say is that the ball will get to the top of the water when the ball realizes it is the water. The scale of the movement and the speed of movement of this conspiracy now, as it puts in more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more centralization of power, etc. I've been saying for years now, that is not about even gathering more power. It is about defending the control that's already there, because they understand. I mean, if I can go to a psychic in England in 1990 to be told through this psychic that this vibrational change was coming and it was going to create a spiritual revolution, I mean, are the Illuminati families not going to know that this spiritual change, this vibrational alarm clock is coming? I mean, of course they are, and they've known about it for a long time. And so what we're looking at is I mean, when you move the power from we're controlling, we're going to give more power, to we must impose more and more control to stop this happening. They're not in a, if you like, a proactive situation now, as they push this Orwellian state on. They're in a defensive situation, trying to keep the lid on human ignorance as this vibrational change brings it to the surface. And, you know, compared with consciousness, this Illuminati, I mean, they're flies on an elephant's back, you know. And they're going to get removed. And, you know, I think it's not about winning the game, it's not about losing the game. It's about realizing the nature of the game and the fact that it's not about winning and losing, it's just about experiencing. And as these pyramids of control, certainly the lower levels first, start getting picked off by this vibrational change and people start to see things differently. You know, as I've been saying for 20 years, you know, look at a pyramid. You know, the capstone's the place of the power. No, it's not. The capstone's up there because the rest of the pyramid's holding the bugger up there. The rest of the pyramid moves away. Where's the capstone going to do? It's going to crash to the floor. There's nothing holding it up. We're holding up the structure that is our own control system. And I used to tell a story years ago. You'll remember, Jim, Larry Grayson, the comedian in England, right? And I knew Larry towards the end of his life. He used to do big shows on the BBC. And I was invited to his memorial service at Covent Garden after he died. And there's another comedian in Britain called Roy Hudd, and he did this presentation about Larry's life. And he told this story, and I sat there, and I thought,